Welcome. I'm so happy you guys were able to find this beautiful place, this rooftop today. Welcome. We're going to talk today about adaptive dynamics for future design. And before we dive in, I would quickly like to introduce myself. I'm Malou Beemer, a Dutch designer and researcher, and I am fascinated by human behavior and interaction. For me, my main domain is working with garments and the personal space around it. It's not because I'm into fashion, but it's really about the fact that I think that is the most personal and intimate form of design that we can create. So therefore, that direction. I have an integrative work ethic, so I work in a lot of different fields and domains. And therefore, I work in art directions, mainly focusing on design, innovation, and wearable technology. The user-centered approach is a very important element in my work and is something that we see throughout everything that we will be talking about today as well. So, what is the most important thing we do within our studio? Interdisciplinary co-creations. All the work that I do is never by myself. I mean, I could, but I just don't like to. The fact is that I truly believe if we combine an open creation space with the fascination and the expertise of people of different domains, we can really elevate the final end product to the next level. I truly believe this is where the magic happens, fusing these interdisciplinary things together. And at the same time, I think there is this whole realm within intersections waiting to be explored. So let's start exploring it. We're going to talk today about the fact that we actually did this in an EU-funded project last year. For 9 months, we were selected as 9 artists to collaborate with a team of scientists and technologists throughout the whole of Europe. And our main objective was to come up with new concepts for the fashion industry. As we all know, we need to change. There is something we definitely need to shift towards. So how would that look like? My main partners for this project was Fraunhofer IZM, EMPA, and Profactor. Next to that, I worked together with Wear-It, Hub Berlin, and so Berlin was also the main place where a lot of this happened. The main concept was all about garments that adapt to the wearer's needs on a practical, but also on a communication and social level. The reason for this is that when we look at wearable technology, we see a lot of development within healthcare, sports, and safety. These are the main values that we are mostly looking at. But we completely miss the fact what fashion brings to the table. We talk about aesthetics, about expression and identity. So how would the world look like if we could combine this together with the practical values? So, that brings us to the next phase. The key to survival in nature and in evolution is adaptiveness. So let's evolve together in an adaptive, healthy, and responsive future. Because when we look at where it all started, everything around us is becoming smarter every day. And in the morning, you still have to select an outfit without knowing what you are going to encounter. That's crazy, right? If I'm becoming really warm right now, why isn't my garment changing and facilitating the optimal environment? So that, together with the fact that the fashion industry is focusing on a quick desire and change of wardrobe, we were looking at how could we create something that stimulates long-term use, strengthen the relation with the products and the garments that we own, and at the same time look at a garment that is going beyond practical needs. So we were looking at the fact, how can we create a garment that adapts to how much you want to stand out or be less noticeable? For this, we used a user-centric approach that embraces human behavior and interaction. So no, I'm not dictating as a designer how you should behave and move within the garment. It's really up to you. For that, it's really important that we have the nature inspiration, and not only when it comes to the aesthetics, these were the mood boards for the project, but also about the fact that there is so much going on and so much we can learn from these natural processes. So we really looked into what are current ways that we can make a garment adapt, move, change, color, shape, whatever. But this brought us to a really strange thing. We found out that there was this big implementation gap. There's a huge gap between scientific research, amazing research that is being done, and then put on a shelf. Often these researches are being done within the parameters of a lab, within specific environments, but as soon as we take it out on the street or putting it very close to our skins, all of a sudden, it doesn't work anymore. So I truly believe when we focus on investing in the bridge between scientific research findings and the actual implementation and needs of the industry, we can really make sure that we move into a healthy future fashion system. Okay, practically, how did this look like? For this project, we used the LEDs, the PCB boards that were developed by Fraunhofer IZM on an embroidered track. And all these little LEDs were able to program one by one to create a very organic way of looking at it. All these little parts can be taken apart again because I am extremely aware of the fact that we are using super polluting materials here. I'm not joking, this is bad. Especially if we combine fashion with technology, two of the most awful things you see when it comes to sustainability. We have to come up with ways to disassemble and use that throughout the design process. But sustainability goes beyond that. Now, also here during Milan Design Week, we see a lot of amazing developments when it comes to materials, when we talk about sustainability, which is vital and essential. But it's not the only thing. If we really want to make a positive impact, we have to work together and focus on all the different facets in the value chain. Therefore, I chose not to focus on the material, but how could it look like when we design new business models or new ways to actually interact with our garments. I mean, your dress can be amazingly made out of super sustainable material, but if you still wear it only once or twice, how sustainable is it? This is where the social aspect comes in. How do we make sure that we have a new relation dynamic, that we actually value the products that we own? And this goes beyond our garments. This goes for telephones, sunglasses, shoes, every domain. How do we create a very valuable relation with our products? This is the main question, and I'm not going to joke, I don't have the answer. We're just really exploring how this could look like. So for this project, we used a layering modular approach, where we have these different layers that we completely are able to take apart, and therefore also adapt. We can create new light patterns, we can add different mask layers or different top layers to make sure you are actually able to play around and change with it, have fun with it. This is how it looked like. 2 prototypes with the final garments. And this is how the final video looks. This brings us to the next phase, because this was one prototype, one way of looking at it. And this was very close to the body. But as I talked about before, I think it's about fusing these different dynamics and these different fields of expertises. Therefore, I truly believe that if we want to move towards a healthy and sustainable future that is facilitating all of us, it's really essential that we start to work from a holistic perspective, and that we see spatial design in a way that it can fuse with the personal space through garment inclusion. I mean, as an architect, how are you able to design super inclusive spaces if you only look at the architecture? I mean, that almost sounds impossible to me. Imagine what that could be if you could fuse that and make that communicate with your garments. Imagine how that world would look like. So therefore, I think if we move towards this, it will be way more optimal, personal, and inclusive for everybody. So to conclude, I think we are moving beyond the whole garment element here. It is all about environments that adapt to the user's needs on a practical and social communicating level. And with doing this, I think we are able to make these dynamic spaces connecting with each other, that there eventually in the future won't be such a distance between the spaces we live in, move in, and be in on a daily basis and the stuff that we wear. Thank you so much. Any questions or remarks? Feel free. Yeah.
What is connected exactly with your LEDs? With your LED technology, what is connected? So what could I do with this?
Okay.
And then the washing aspect?
Yeah. Of course, I totally get that question, because we always get the question, can you wash it? Yes, you can. The problem with washing technology often is not the water, it's the impact the machine makes on the technology. So if you wash this, I would definitely recommend a hand wash, not a machine wash. And what we see here is what you also saw happening in the movie. The LED boards are connected through the embroidered tracks that you see in the undergarment. But there is also a sensor connected. So when I'm wearing this, I'm actually able, with a tap, to change the color, change the color pattern. So I can pre-program my dress before I go out. Maybe my theme tonight is red. Maybe it's blue. So I can pre-program that. I'm able to switch between these different interfaces. But I'm also able to quickly turn it off. Imagine me wearing this and I'm going home at night in the dark. I don't want to walk around like that. That's super dangerous. So therefore, it's really important that we have this emergency button as well, that you are able to turn it off and on. It's all about, again, how much do you want to stand out? And that's not all the time. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Anybody else? No? All super clear? Really? I even have a lot of questions, but thank you very much for attending today. And looking forward to talking with you and have a drink later on. Thanks.